the snow from
just not
inside my windows, but when you have to get out in it, I get kind of nervous.
I just don't want it between April and October. That's when I don't want it.
Well, I got to clear up something quickly because according to several phone calls that went around yesterday.
She's still alive.
I was deceased.
Yeah.
And wasn't me. I think I finally figured it out. A lady whose name was Cherie, who was a little tiny bit younger than me, did pass away. She lived in Talking Rock. So I think that's where this started. But when Freddie's poor mom calls and she is panicky because I answered the phone, she said, "You're okay?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Oh, God, we have been worried to death." Because phone call after phone call, my child even got a phone call that something had happened to me. So, and then when I called 911 and I said, "Listen, have any cars that are registered to me had accidents or anything?" She said, "No." But it was like so many people had heard this, and when they finally said, "Well, we actually heard you were deceased," and I said, "I ain't deceased, I'm here." So sometimes things get kind of, and when Nick called, he said,
"Rumors fly, don't they?"
"Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You're okay right now?" And I said, "Uh-huh, you're talking to me." He said, "Okay." And then finally I said, "Who told you that?" And he told me, and I said, "Listen, I'm fine." But there were rumors that I actually not only was hurt or not doing well, that I was deceased.
So you almost made the list of 2011 famous people that died.
I did, and I don't want to make that list. I want to make that list in about 2029 maybe.
That's too early.
Well,
that's only 20-something years from now.
Oh, yeah, in 2004.
Do your math, girl.
What's that stuff Paul Kiker was talking about, goals that helps your brain?
Yeah.
Anyway, I am alive and well, and for the folks who were concerned and caring and calling, and it's like, yeah, and I'm answering the phone, they're going, "Oh, it's you." Yeah, it's me. It's me.
But on a serious note, condolences to the family who did lose.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, because it took me a while to finally figure it out, and I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. I do know how that got started," because we did have the same name, and she lived in Talking Rock and was just a little tiny bit younger than me.
Well, Talking Rock's a good-sized little town, but it's not a metropolis.
No, and I do live right at the border of Talking Rock. So anyway,
you drive fast.
Well, sometimes.
It wouldn't be surprising if somebody heard about
sometimes.
You.
And we gotta say, get well to you folks between Hampton and Ludwell. Everybody out there's got this stomach bug.
Oh man.
And you know, when people say, "Well, we can come on and be with you," but 3 out of 6 of us are really not feeling well. That's okay. That's okay.
Come see us when you feel better.
Yeah,
right?
Come see us when you feel better. But Bill is going to sing a little tiny bit for us today, and we're going to talk recovery. And I feel so bad about something I've done wrong all my life. Sunday morning, you know, I got to hear the Joel Osteen thing. His message was about priorities and making sure that you pay attention to an important part of your life, and an important part of your life is being a father.
Oh, yes.
Has there ever been a time that you were not available to your children?
Yeah, before I had them.
Oh. Well, there were times I put business first most of my life.
Well, you know, a lot of people are guilty of that, business or whatever it might be. But,
I put business first most of my life, and when Joel Osteen stepped up Sunday and he's talking about there are only 2 people that he takes calls from. Doesn't matter if he's in a meeting with the president, he doesn't care. If this call comes through, he takes it. He made me feel like a dog, because the people I always say, "I'll have to call you back," and sometimes I'm, you know.
Yeah, you do me that way.
I do, because I have 3 lines ringing all the time, and I'm on a call, putting a call on hold, and sometimes I'm guilty of that. So I felt, Joel Osteen, you made me feel like a dog. So, and the 2 calls he always takes are from
his mother-in-law.
No, his children. His children. I felt like a dog, and then when I said, I can tell you 10 times last week that I put my kids on hold so I could do a business call.
I think every time my kids call, I do talk to them. I don't ever...
Well, Joel does, and he takes calls from his children no matter where he is. So today, I chose a little thing I bought myself this for Christmas. This is my gift to me from me. Life the way you want it to be. Well, I wanted to collect all that money. I've been calling these people that owe us this $77,000. I'm not doing real good. So Joel says, imagine. So I'm imagining that money's going to come. It ain't going to come.
He got that from John Lennon, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Most of these people are out of business. Most of them, actually, a few of them are in jail, and I am getting a little money restitution from a jail. Is that not funny?
That is funny.
To get $4.40. Do you know that won't buy, well, will it buy a Happy Meal maybe?
You go to one of these sub shops and get you a
Okay, a $3.99 deal.
Yeah,
Every
get you a
single
sandwich
one's got
and
one
some
of
chips
them.
and a drink, yeah.
But anyway, so I have imagined recovery. I have imagined this year being the best year of our life. I have imagined, because I listened to Joel, and he does talk about making life the way you want it to be. Well, I want to collect all that money, and I want to be able to pay off everything I owe, and I want to be able to sit down next Christmas and the 2 weeks I have off, go somewhere. So I'm imagining a wonderful year. And we have just the man here today to either burst my bubble or encourage me.
Did he bring $77,000 with him?
No, I wish he had. You know, if I'd known a good investor, I probably wouldn't be in the shape I was today, because those people who owed me, I would have chased them down sooner.
Well, you're just a nice person. You can't help it.
I just kept, one lady, y'all got to hear this. This is funny. I call this lady. She owes us $1,400. And I said, hi, ma'am, could I send you a copy of this invoice that hadn't been paid? And she said, yeah, but it probably won't do you any good. Because she said, everybody else has filed against our bond. And, you know, we're only working 4 dispatchers now and 3 accounts payable people. And we just aren't paying our bills. And I thought, what state are you in? And I looked and I thought, well, I'm just going to drive up there and whip her. Because when she tells me, well, I'm only operating with 4 dispatchers and I'm operating with a shoestring doing everything.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there, gosh, we only have, and I think, lady, you owe me $1,400. Then I look, she's in Ohio. I don't know that I want to go to Ohio to whoop her.
It cost you half that to drive up there and back, wouldn't it?
Nah, about $260. I've got it figured out.
She's going.
Decide.
Look out,
But
Ohio. Here she comes.
Y'all, I've heard every excuse in the book, and one, the people that went to jail, there were 6 people involved, but they scammed truckers out of like $500,000. So mine was only $3,900. But when you get $4.40, and you figure, how long is it going to take me to get $3,900?
You won't live that long.
I won't live that long.
You're already old.
And I don't get it every month. I get it every other month. You know, it's so funny.
It's terrible.
It's ridiculous, but this is the year. I had my accountant tell me how to write this stuff off.
You can afford an accountant still?
Yeah, well, yeah. I bake him cookies
Oh,
or
is that what
something.
it
You know,
is? You
I
trade
don't have
off.
to pay him money.
Barter, yeah.
Yeah. But we are going to call this the year of recovery. I'm writing off all this bad stuff, and all these people that either went to jail, don't exist anymore. I love the one that their phone number's been changed, but they went 6 blocks down the street and opened a new business. Now, that was my favorite one. Because I get a hold of the shipper and they said, yeah, they don't operate under that name anymore. They moved down the street. And you're thinking,
I guess now you can see how banks are reluctant to do what they used to do.
It's a very scary time. It's a very scary time. One guy, now this is my favorite.
But we're going to recover.
We're going to recover. This is the year of recovery. My favorite bill collecting story is this guy owes us for 5 loads. And on Friday, not this Friday, but a Friday past, we had loaded one of his loads, and we're coming out of Laredo, Texas. And we're on our way in. He is filing bankruptcy. He is having his phone disconnected, and he's leaving town. And he's going to Panama City Beach. And he leaves owing us thousands of dollars. But he loaded us a load the day he's filing bankruptcy. So he lets us bring this load in for free. We buy the fuel. We pay the driver.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. Now, that guy, if I walk up in Panama City Beach and I see him, I am whooping him. Y'all going to get to hear a bad story. I'll be in, what is that magazine, the National Enquirer?
Well, that one where they got all them pictures and people with black eyes on the front of it.
Yeah, I'll be in that magazine because he knew what he was doing.
I've had them do me that way.
He knew what he was doing. He had already scammed us out of 4 loads, and now he loads us a load, lets us drive across the country, buy the fuel, pay the driver, do the things we're supposed to do, deliver the load on time.
Special people like he is.
Filed bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So, Ken, I'm after you. I'm going to get him.
You ever wonder about stuff that's on the news or on TV, and you wonder why did that make news? I mean, what's so important about that? That's the way I feel about this royal wedding business. I mean, who cares?
Wait.
Who cares?
What do you and the prince have in common?
I have no
What
idea.
do you and the prince have something in common?
Well, my middle name is William.
No, let me tell you what it is. Your hairline.
Oh, well.
The prince is losing his hair, but he has to marry this woman quickly, because if he doesn't marry her quickly, that boy's going to be bald-headed. By the time they go down the aisle.
Who cares?
Listen, he's a cutie. He's a hottie. He looks like his mama. But Mama did not leave her hair for him. He is going to be bald-headed
Well,
very,
it happens
very
to
soon.
guys. I mean, so what?
But you and him have something in common.
I might look like Kojak before it's all over with. Who cares? Y'all remember Kojak, right?
It is so funny. Last night it just hit me. I was on the internet looking at the prince, and looking at the wedding plans.
But he's not our prince. Who cares?
No, but he's really a hottie.
Who cares?
He's really a hottie. Now, his brother's not such a hottie, but he's a hottie.
That's one of the things on the news. I mean, you see all this stuff on the news.
Everything they're
And
doing
I'm
is
like,
on the news.
Click. Who cares? I don't care about it.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting. I think that we should watch it, because I remember watching his mother marry his father, big mistake of her life.
He's a real looker, ain't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares about that, too? That worked out real well.
And then Camilla comes into the picture.
She's a looker, too, boy, let me tell you. Woo. Ooh.
So anyway, everybody's watching this wedding, but what am I watching? His hairline. His hairline, it is receding quickly.
You're blushing. You look like your lipstick over there.
That's why. What's this girl's name, Kate?
I have no idea, because I don't care.
That's why Miss Kate said, well, we might need to go down the aisle quickly,
like
because
this,
if not, these wedding photos are going to look bad.
That's like this last night. I heard on the news this morning, they're talking about the People's Choice Awards. Who cares?
What are they choosing?
I have no
that
idea.
Too.
I mean, you got no more time to, no better thing to do with your time than watch that. Come on.
What do you watch on TV at night? Tell me what you watch.
Football.
Do you really?
Or the Munsters.
Do you really?
Yeah, or Andy Griffith.
You like football that much?
Sometimes I watch ourselves on here, but just
okay.
very
Let's make
I
a
love
prediction.
Football and
Let's make a
baseball.
prediction. The Falcons are going to do what?
I think they may, and I hate to say this because I want them to win the Super Bowl, but I think they may lose the first game in the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah.
Mr. Blank doesn't think that.
No, he
Mr.
doesn't.
Blank
And
is betting a lot of money.
And he's a good guy. He's doing a great job.
He is.
I admire the Falcons for what they've done. They got a great team. But
They have got a great team. I say everybody, put them on your prayer list. Pray that the Falcons do not embarrass Atlanta, because on occasion they have gotten very, very close and very, very far.
you know who may come back through this town to play them again, don't you?
Michael Vick.
Well,
How cool
I think
would that be?
I think they'll beat them if they play them. But
You do?
yeah, the New Orleans Saints will probably come back to town, and so it's gonna
Yeah,
be tough.
and that was a tough
And then if they make it to the Super Bowl, you know who they may play?
Who?
The New England Patriots. That'll be tough. So,
Well,
but anything can happen.
But the Falcons could do it, and so we want to
Anything can
say,
happen.
congratulations, Falcons.
I hope they
Good
win it all.
job. They have done well
Very
this
well.
year, very, very well. So we want to give them a little bit of credit for that. There were
Oh, I do.
years that we were embarrassed to have Falcon jerseys hanging in our closets, but and actually I have. You talk about collector's items. A T-shirt from the Falcons the last time they went. How many years ago was that?
98, 97, somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
I have some of those shirts that said the birds do
Yeah,
it or
the
something
Dirty
like that.
Birds,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Dirty Birds, yeah. So there has been a time that they rose to the occasion. We hope they will do that again.
And I think they will do very well. I hope they do anyway. You know, another thing that bothers me, you ever do these little surveys, like you go to a restaurant and they want you to take a little survey and you call up the number
They don't want to ask me.
and they got 5 choices most of the time. And the choices are, number 5, very satisfied. Number 4, satisfied. Number 3, neither satisfied or dissatisfied. Number 2, somewhat dissatisfied. And number 1, dissatisfied. Won't they just come on there and ask you, did you like it or not? Did you like it or not? Do we
Yeah.
stink or are we good? I mean, that's all you got to ask. And it takes so long to do these surveys.
Well, I have to, speaking of restaurants, I have to do a
bothers me.
big thank you, because every week on Friday we are able to give you a birthday cake. Every Friday somebody wins a cake, and I want to go over the people who have helped us, and thank you so much. Ingles and East Ellijay, Walmart East Ellijay, Food Line Ellijay, Dairy Queen, Grill and Chill, Blue Ridge, Dairy
Yummy.
Queen Jasper, where they are famous for Cherie Martin Blizzard, Dairy Queen Ellijay, where they have mastered completely the Cherie Martin Blizzard, but their bacon biscuits will make you want to eat there instead of a 5-star restaurant. They are to die for. And not many DQs have biscuits. They don't just have biscuits. They have like the best biscuits
Well, why don't you
ever.
consider them a 5-star restaurant then?
Well, I would. I'd put them on my list. I'd call and make reservations.
They are for you,
yeah. Okay, Anthony's Bakery in Blue Ridge. Now, let me tell you about Anthony's Bakery. I have wanted to go there for so long, ever since they did the commercial. I called, and they closed, and I was like, okay, so I called back. Well, it was like, I think they closed at 2 in the afternoon or something. Anyway, I couldn't get a hold of them. I'd made up my mind. I'd seen a cake on a commercial, and I said, I've got to have that cake. I still haven't had it, but I'm going to get there. Ingles at East J again. All these people contribute the cakes. I mean, they donate the cake and they give it to you. So happy birthday to everybody who ever won one. And it's, these businesses made it possible. So thank you very, very much.
Hey, another thing that is weird to me, over in Asia, they have all these countries, and the last name of the country is Stan. Who is this guy, Stan? Think
Pakistan.
About it. Afghanistan. Hayastan. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan.
I still want to go back to the prince's
Who is
hair.
this guy?
I just love that the prince is going to be bald by the time they get married.
You get off on that, ain't you? Can you imagine though this?
I just saw you standing by the princess last night in this picture. I thought, there's me.
Well, I'm already married. I can't do that. So.
Okay.
And can you imagine translating those countries' names over to some of our states, like Alabama-stan? Yeah. Hawaii-stan, Kansas-stan, Texas-stan, Montana-stan, Arizona-stan, Kentucky-stan, and United States-stan. Who is this guy, Stan? Anyway?
I don't know, but he must have been very important.
Must have been.
Must have been very important.
Beats the heck out of me, I don't know.
Yeah. All right, are you going to sing a little bit in a little while?
In a little while, yeah.
Okay,
I got to warm up my... me. I got to warm up a little bit
Speaking
first.
of warming up, I hope we warmed y'all up to Smoke on the Mountain yesterday, because we had Miss Vera and her beautiful daughter Denise here.
You had Deep Purple here yesterday?
No.
Oh, that's Smoke on the Water.
Smoke on the Mountain. Sorry. Yeah, think about it, son. But next Friday night, not this Friday night, next Friday night, the 14th, they will be performing at Harbor Ministries' full-blown play. We're turning the church into what it was originally, a theater, and it is going to be so cool. So we hope yesterday we enticed you a little bit. Now, when you said something about singing early, this young child sings soprano very, very well.
Oh, to bounce off those walls in that place pretty good.
Yeah, and she did it early yesterday morning, and she said, I need to be careful because I drank some milk. Does it make a difference what you drink in the morning?
Don't drink milk, no. That's a no-no.
Yeah. Now, why is that?
They say it coats your throat. And when I do singing lessons, that's one of the things I say don't drink milk.
Yes, and I am about to get a call that we had so hoped would come through. Last night we showed an old Heart of the Home with Hans Rueffert, and I got on Facebook and I told everybody, do something for Hans. Go to the Woodbridge Inn, order Cherie Martin's lemon pie. It is so good. It's Miss Brenda's aunt. I think it's her recipe. It is so good, but that's what I choose for my birthday cake, is lemon pie from the Woodbridge.
So you got to put your name on everything.
Hans wants to talk to y'all, and he wants to say thank you. So we have Hans coming on the phone right now, and we're going to give him a few minutes to say a big thank you to everybody who has been praying for him.
Absolutely. Good morning, Cherie.
Hey,
How
sweetheart. Hey.
I don't have a good internet connection enough to watch you guys this morning, unfortunately. But
no.
I can imagine what's going on over there.
It has been a good day. It's been a good day.
Good.
Now, let me tell you what you did to me last night, Sunshine. You traumatized me when you sent the pictures of your back. I don't know how you can talk to us. I don't even know how you can be awake. You should be in a coma. My Lord have mercy.
Well, that was about a week ago that surgery happened.
Oh, gosh.
I'm just now getting to the point where I basically feel like a shucked oyster. I mean, they took out 3 of my ribs in the back and cut me pretty much from belt to shoulder, all the way up. And this is in an attempt yet again to repair this leak. I've had a chronic leak since, really almost. This has been 5.5 years since my original surgery, and the leak's been going on almost 5 years. And
wow.
Every time I get it fixed, it starts leaking again. Not because of anything I'm doing. It's just that the radiation damage from my original treatment is so severe that it's just hard to. The way my doctor puts it, it's hard to fix a cooked chicken.
Oh, wow.
I'm the chef that's cooked on the inside. So.
See, I couldn't figure out why they couldn't get it right, and that's a good description, because I can't imagine a doctor going into that. Now, I got to ask you this, and seriousness aside, What they gonna do with them ribs, Hans? Are they gonna make another woman? Is God gonna take your ribs and create another woman? Is she gonna be the perfect woman?
Well, they can make 3, I guess. I actually, with my warped sense of humor, I actually asked if I could keep them. Because this makes a total of 5 ribs now that they've taken over the years. And,
oh, wow.
And it just seems like you could do something fun with them, but the answer was no, I can't keep them. And I kind of felt like that's a bad answer because I grew them. I mean, they're mine, right?
Now, what is the difference in what your body will do? The rib cage protects your lungs and heart, is that right?
Yeah, and but these are all, your ribs, you've got, you just think sort of like a wishbone. I've got your sort of front and back, and these are from the back, and it's not the entire ribs. What they do is they take a section probably 5 or 6 inches long, and so the muscle in there is still going to protect it. But this time they actually had to use some of that muscle to try to. They wanted to get my back to collapse a little bit so that they could use some of that muscle to try and stick on this leak from the outside. So it's pretty intense, and I've got tubes coming out of my back still, and it's.
That's what Freddie saw last night. He was looking at the picture and he said, "Oh, he's got tubes coming out," and he was "Oh gosh."
Let's start calling him Herman there after a while.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Every monster.
Yeah. Now let's talk about recovery. What is your recovery time, and what do we expect when will we see you back at the Woodbridge Inn?
Well, we're just now discussing those things. I'm hoping that I'll be out of here by Monday. They finally pulled that tube out of my nose that was vacuuming my stomach at all the time because they wanted to keep that dry. But I still haven't had a bite to eat in 8 days or drink. I've not had any food or water for 8 days.
Oh wow!
And everything comes through, through the veins. I'm not starving. I have lost about 10 pounds, but
I found them.
Yeah.
I found them.
Well, I always seem to do that for you, don't I, Cherie?
Thank you.
We'll give them back to me when I get back. But so they're talking about maybe Mondays they're going to keep me in the hospital for number 1 for sort of pain recovery, and then number 2 for nutrition, and then hopefully be able to get out here Monday or Tuesday, and then it's still going to be a while before I'm quote unquote normal. I might not be my full 6'4" when you see me next time. Still kind of hunched over a little bit, but I'm in good spirits, and I'm ready to get home and start walking the dining room again. I might not be again carrying a whole bunch of trays or doing my usual sort of stuff, but.
Right.
But I love at least walking through and talking to everybody. And, today's Thursday, right? So we launched that Blue Jean Cuisine thing that I told you about several weeks ago. And I tell you, the community has been so nice to sort of rally behind me. That's become sort of our friends and family night. And Arthur McIntyre, which you both spoke at my dad's funeral.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of has gotten the community rallied behind that. And the first, I guess 2 weeks ago, we did like 80 people that night. And then the next Thursday we did, I think, like 65, and so for $12.95 you get basically a complete meal, a drink, and the whole deal. And we've got 5 or 6 choices, and it's been fun. It's great because what's happening is people aren't just coming down, looking at the food and they're eating. They're actually getting up. They're visiting with other tables. It's like a dinner party.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that to me, because people have been asking me what can they do to help me. And honestly, if I don't have to worry about that restaurant, people are coming out and paying, and from the Blue Star story too. If people, they think, I should have gone, I should have done this, I should have done that.
I hear that every single day. And last week I told people, I said, Hans still has cookbooks available at the Woodbridge Inn. He still has T-shirts available. Everything you can do to support this kid will help him in recovery more than anything the doctor can do. Because if you come home and financially the Woodbridge Inn failed, you're done. You're toast. It's over.
Absolutely.
So,
and of course, my insurance is tied through there too and everything. So, but I mean, at no point do I want to have a violin playing for me because I'm not anybody's going to take care of me.
No.
In fact, I'm up, and even the day after surgery, I was up and walking. I walk probably 2 to 3 hours a day here, just walking around in circles, just because I got to get my strength back up so I can get back and get my life going again. I got TV shows to do, and I got a lot to do.
Yep.
Right.
But,
last night they re-aired the Peach episode in Georgia, and then we did the program with you where we just talked about you had just gotten back from MD Anderson then, and I just said it was appropriate that we honor you right now because you have fought a battle that I think many people would have given up, Hans. I don't think many people would have had the stamina you have had. You have proven the doctors total idiots. I mean, they'd say, well, you're toast, you're gone, you're over with, and you'd come out every single time, and the doctors are scratching their head going, this kid keeps bouncing back. But I think it's your attitude has a lot to do with it.
And my dad was a fighter, too, up until the end. He was a fighter, and I definitely think I got that spirit from him, and I think he's here sort of kicking me in behind many times, too, when I'm laying in bed and don't feel like I want to get out. There's many times that I don't even know why. I just get up, even though I just had the thought that I can't get up. And the next thing I know, I'm up and walking. So I think.
Now let's talk about the children and Amy. Are they with you? Are they at home? How's that going?
No, they're with me, but they might be heading home a little early because it's a long time for them to be out here too. And
right.
But if we're actually waiting, the doctor should be coming around here hopefully within a half hour to let me know what the game plan is, and if it's just sort of if I'm in a holding pattern for the next few days, then they might head on back. But if there's still talk about possibly going in and putting another stent in my esophagus, which basically is like a tube just to protect this last surgery, and I would leave that in for 5 or 6 weeks. And if they're going to do that procedure, then they'll probably hang around again.
Well, we have to encourage people. The Woodbridge Inn has had a wonderful facelift. It looks so good.
Well, thank you, Cherie.
And we have to encourage people, go out on Thursdays, but also, what about the Wednesday lunch? Are you still open Wednesday lunch?
Still doing Wednesday lunch and Sunday lunch. And Sunday lunch is such a tradition for folks around here. And I'll be honest with you, and I've had people tell me, in those years that I was gone and my dad's health wasn't doing well, we had some bad chefs in there. We just did.
Yeah.
And so we kind of
I'm actually one of those people who was honest with you and said, it's not working. Yeah.
And it wasn't. And so that's why I'm proud when people come back. But there is sort of a wall that some people have. And I've done it. You've done it. You go to a restaurant, it's bad, and you don't go back.
Yeah.
But we're the old Woodbridge Inn again, but at the same time, we're sort of the new Woodbridge Inn because I've got my things going on.
Right.
But it's that what you expect. And so I love it when church groups come. We get 5, 6, 8, 10 people after church drive over, and they sit there and they enjoy the meal, and they go, we used to do this. Why did we stop coming here?
Right.
Why are we going to, the chain restaurant or whatever?
Right.
Who doesn't care who I am or doesn't remember my name or doesn't know what I like to eat.
And the one thing I will always treasure from the Woodbridge Inn, your daddy always, like birthdays, he made the marble things. I have so many of those little candle things, anniversaries, he always remembered that. It was that personal touch, and that's what it's all about. It is that personal touch. And you and I have been there many, many years, and we've seen it happen. We've seen so many people that we loved that I can tell you used to sit in there and eat every week. Betty Scott Tate is one of those. Betty Tate Scott is one of those.
Yep.
People who are gone, but we remember the days when it was the place to go. It was the place to go.
And that's what we're trying to bring it back to is that because we're not crazy expensive at all, especially not even compared to those chains that are out there. And people think sometimes that we're fancy and that we're this special occasion restaurant, and we can be. And I'm glad that people do come to us for special occasions, but you can also just come out when you're hungry.
Right.
So, which after 8 days of not eating, I am that person.
I know you are. Well, you know that about 12 years ago, I made this decision to always have lemon pie for my birthday. That's the thing. Instead of anybody going and getting me a cake, I said, just go to the Woodbridge Inn and get me a cake. You do sell your whole lemon pies. You can do specialty things, and that's one of the other things. You can pick up the phone and call, and you could take dinner home that would be a special occasion at home if you don't feel like going out. The Woodbridge Inn does so many special things.
We've done that too. Then even items that we had on the menu for years. People called and said, it's my husband's birthday. He's craving the duck à l'orange, something that we just haven't done in years. Of course we'll do that. And I love doing that kind of stuff because it's an opportunity for me to do something above and beyond the normal.
Do you know the story about the Thanksgiving my mama made that stinking duck, and my brother and I went next door and told the neighbors we didn't have anything to eat for Thanksgiving dinner, and my mother cried like a baby because she worked all day on that duck, and she just prepared it, and she made it so beautiful on this big platter. We hated it. And she was like, oh, God.
Do you like duck now or not?
No, I'm not a duck fan. No, but my poor mama, after she whipped us,
eat it or starve.
But you do have things that people, I remember Bill Oscar. I can remember Alden Jones and Juanita coming in, and one of them would order trout and one would order Bill Oscar. I can remember that like it was yesterday. And there were so many people that it was that meal.
He ordered it almost every single time they sat there on table 4 right by the window.
Yes.
And she would always order Han's Surprise, and that was so much fun for me. Is that he just trusted me and just did whatever I wanted to make, and that was fun because I got to kind of
Man, she was a beautiful lady. She was so beautiful.
She still is.
Yeah.
She still is.
Yeah. Well, it is amazing to me. 40 years plus. And sitting here hoping that the Woodbridge Inn will succeed, and we don't want to see any more failure in Jasper.
No, not at all, and not with me. For Jasper's my home. There's other things I can do, whatever, but this is where this is my roots. This is where I'm a Jasper boy. People always wonder where my accent is. Well, I didn't get the accent.
Let me ask you something, because last night when I watched the program, we talked a little bit about the Food Network thing. Would you go through that again, and would you do that again?
You know, it's interesting you mentioned that because they're actually doing a cookbook of the Next Food Network star that they've been talking to me. I'm contributing for a new cookbook that they're doing. They're supposed to be coming out this summer or fall. So, but we'll talk about that more when I know more about it. But
Okay.
you know, I would, even knowing what I know, even knowing that it was the cards were stacked.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You and I knew behind the scenes where we were going and what we were doing, although we did have so many people voting for you and voting for you, voting for you, and not knowing that we were going to get nowhere. That was the thing that disappointed me so much. It was a stacked deck, and that's not fair.
If you watch the show now, you notice that there is no U.S. votes anymore. Now they just, 3 people just choose who it's going to be,
Right.
and then the very next day they debut the winner's new show because they're not stupid. They weren't going to put somebody on the air that they felt like couldn't do it, and they weren't going to put somebody in the air that was similar to something they already have. And they, like I said, they already told me we've got plenty of 30-something-year-old males that I didn't fit what they were looking for.
Exactly. But never in the history of the Food Network will anybody ever ace something like you did when you bit into that onion. Nobody else could have done that, and nobody else could have handled it, because I know what a hot onion tastes like, and I'm telling you what, big boy, you did a great job.
I've told that story many a time, and even in Vidalia, actually, I've had the pleasure of getting on stage and telling that story, and it's hard to replicate that without actually having the onion in your mouth.
Right.
But no, I would absolutely do it again, and I learned so much, and in fact, I was just in Los Angeles for a big gastric cancer fundraiser, and I got to hook up with 3 of my fellow contestants. We're all still really good friends, and I think that was the problem for the Food Network, is we weren't mean enough. We all got along, with the exception of one person that took it a little too seriously.
Right.
We all had a good time. We supported each other, and we had fun with it. And so if it was that kind of spirit again, and they weren't trying to throw this stuff where now they make all the contestants live in the same apartment, and so there's drama behind it. They're trying to get them to hate each other.
Yeah.
I don't want that, but absolutely, I'd get in the kitchen and roll up my sleeves and go against any of them. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Well, you brought Jasper to world recognition, because people everywhere were talking about, that German boy from Georgia. We're like, yeah, right, he is.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for everything you've contributed.
Well,
and to ETC. I mean, you were the founding father of what I do every single day, and I thank you. Every morning when I get up and I'm allowed to come to this job, you started it.
Well, I love my ETC family. I miss everybody there, and it's obviously my health was definitely a rocky thing, but I miss doing the voiceovers. I used to love doing those voiceovers for the different car companies and whatever it was.
Right.
Ball ground furniture. It's fun.
Actually, I heard that ball ground furniture with you the other day, and I laughed about that, and I thought, wow.
Well, maybe if I get some strength back, I'll come. I'll ask Danny if I can come back and do a few voiceovers just for the fun of it.
It'll be awesome for folks to get to see you. Now, if they want to send a card or a note or possibly make a contribution or to purchase a cookbook, 44 Chambers Street, Jasper, Georgia.
44 Chambers. That's the one.
30143.
That's right. Yeah, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here, and you remember from 5 years ago. Now, I don't know if I still hold that record, but I had received more mail than any single patient ever had here.
Yes.
In fact, they had one of the post office people basically dedicated to getting my mail. I had I don't know how many hundreds of pounds of mail I had.
Yeah.
And I was awesome. And we've talked before on the show. I think it's one of the single best things you can do for somebody going through something like that is just let them know, hey, we're thinking about you. And now, honestly, Facebook has kind of replaced that in the sense that I'm connected to so many people now through Facebook, and I don't turn anybody down on Facebook, because I am friends with her. You are too. I can see there's thousands of people.
Yeah.
But what a great way to, in one swoop, start something where everybody just says something nice. And I tell you, it does on a day when you feel like you've been cracked in half. When you have been cracked in half.
You have been. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I knew last night. Freddie said, Hans wants to call in, and I said, that'd be great, and then I looked at the picture of you, and I thought, how can he call anybody? Wow.
Well, it's actually starting to wear me out a little bit, but when I get back, I'll head over there. We'll sit down and have a chat. Maybe if you got one of you guys there that feel like they want a day off, I can come sub for a day or something.
That would be awesome. And remember, for your birthday cake of choice, check out the lemon pie at the Woodbridge Inn, because that's my birthday cake of choice. So there you go.
Yeah, we got Blue Jean Cuisine tonight, starting at 5, so they can call over for reservations to 1. It does get happening. It's hopping, but it's fun. Like I said,
that's awesome.
great atmosphere. Like I said, people were jumping up and talking to other tables. It was like a big old community reunion. I loved it.
Let me ask you something. Did you know that Martha Poole, Martha Poole from the Progress's mom passed away this week?
Oh, I did not.
Miss Lucille, she was the most beautiful lady, the most beautiful lady. And every time I had a yard sale, she always came to the yard sale. And I didn't even know she was passed away until after the fact. But I kept seeing the name, and I thought, who is it? And then it hit me. But Miss Forrest passed away this week. Such a beautiful, beautiful lady. And there's such a part of downtown Jasper when you were at your worst and really, really struggling. And I remember prayers happening out at the Woodbridge Inn on the porch. The pools were a big part of that.
Well,
Jasper has rallied around you, and now our whole community rallies around you. So, and prayers are going up for you every single day.
Well, definitely to everybody, a huge thank you from me and from the family just for the kind words and support. And it's I've said it before, if you have to be sick, there's no place like our North Georgia community to be sick, because you can lean on a whole bunch of shoulders. And people, honestly, people who've never actually physically met me, I'm on their prayer list, and they every day send a little positive energy my way.
Right.
And it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
Right, that's right. Well, I love you very, very much, and best wishes to you as you travel back to Jasper. I can't imagine being in your condition, boarding a plane in Houston and having to land at Atlanta's airport. That is like worse than the worst surgery in the world. So.
Not excited about that, but it's worth it to get home.
Yeah,
Just tell them to be easy with you when they pat you down.
Be easy with you when they pat you down. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That is one thing I did. So when people want to, some reason people love to pat me on the back, like they want to give me this encouraging, and I'm like, God, you have to shake my hand or something.
Yeah,
but
anything, don't touch my back.
Yeah.
Well, for folks who want to keep in touch with Hans, you can go to Facebook. He is on Facebook every single day. Send him a positive message. And many positive prayers coming to you today. We love you. Blessings, 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 because 2011 is the year of recovery, and you will be one of those people who recovers.
Amen. Sounds fantastic, man. Well, love you both. Say hi to everybody for me. And
I will. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good to hear from him, because after seeing the picture last night, I was a little shaky about that picture. It was rough. It looked like he had been sliced and diced and a lot of things happening, and I'm thinking, how does this poor boy stand it?
Well, it's rough when your favorite dancing partner is an IV machine.
Yeah, well, get on Facebook. That's all I can say, and just check it out. But right now, we're going to go to the people who check us out every day by keeping us working. Thank you very much to our sponsors. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, please get in touch with our marketing and advertising department, because they do a fantastic job. We can go to our sponsors, and we're going to come back to something. Imagine life the way you want it to be. I'm imagining a better year. I'm imagining a year of recovery. I think we are on the road to recovery. I hope that I saw something pretty negative. DeKalb County was having all these auctions, foreclosed homes, and like a third of the people who normally show up showed up. The vultures were there, and that's not a very nice thing to say, but it's the truth. The vultures were there. And it's a sad time in America, but we've got to clean out the foreclosures. But the thing we have to do is imagine that you've gone through this. Imagine that you've lived through it. Imagine that everything is well now. We're going to go sponsors, and then we're going to, Rich Scott, don't forget, Trading Time, go to Joel Osteen. And I want to remind you, in early March, I think it's the third week of March, Joel Osteen will be in Nashville. Now, y'all, you can leave here and you can drive to Nashville, and you can get an opportunity to spend time with this wonderful man. He and Victoria will be in Nashville. I believe it's March the 18th. And for more information, you can get on joelosteen.com. There you go. We're going to take a break, go to our sponsors, and then imagine your life as you want it to be.
We want to thank you for giving so generously to this ministry. You know, we could not do it without you. I love what the scripture says about a generous giver. It says, those who are generous will be refreshed. So you can expect a refreshing to come into your life. You can expect the blessing of God, because He is shining down upon you.
We know God has great things in store for the people that love the Lord. That's you, or you wouldn't be viewing or listening today. So know that God is pleased with you. He's got an amazing future up in front of you. And I just encourage you to just keep being your best each day. Sometimes you think, well, why is it taking so long? Or why am I not seeing God's goodness? But really, we don't know what God is keeping us from. You got to come back to that place of trust to say, God, I believe that you're in complete control of my life. And when you do that, you know, you don't have to live frustrated. You don't have to be angry because somebody didn't do you right, or upset because it's not happening as fast as you'd like. you can just know that God is in complete control. And you know, when you trust God like that, that's when He'll bring amazing things across your path. But as Victoria said, thank you so much for your support of our ministry. We appreciate you, and we believe every seed that you've sown, God is going to multiply it back to you in amazing ways. But be blessed today and know that we're praying for you each day.
Yeah, you're an overcomer, more than a conqueror. Today, discover the champion in you.
Well, God bless you and welcome. It is always a joy to come into your homes, and we come with good news. We know God is on your side, and if God be for you, who dare even be against you? If you believe, all things are possible. So thanks for tuning in today. If you're ever in our area, I hope you'll come out and be a part of one of our services. These are the finest people in all of Houston right here. They'll make you feel right at home, and you'll like our new facility as well. So come see us sometime. I like to start with something funny. I heard about this man and his wife, and they argued for several months about who was to make the coffee in the morning. The man thought it was definitely the wife's job, but she just didn't agree. And they had several heated debates on this, and finally one day the wife came up and said, "Honey, I found in the Bible where it clearly says the man is to make the coffee." He said, "What are you talking about? The Bible doesn't say anything about that." She said, "Sure it doesn't." She called him over and she opened it up and pointed to the book of Hebrews. Hold up your Bible, say it like you mean it. Ready? This is my Bible. I am what it says I am. I have what it says I have. I can do what it says I can do. Today I will be taught the Word of God. I boldly confess, my mind is alert, my heart is receptive. I will never be the same. I am about to receive the incorruptible, indestructible, ever-living seed of the Word of God. I'll never be the same. Never, never, never. I'll never be the same in Jesus' name. God bless you. We've been talking about the power of our thoughts and how important it is that we keep them going in a positive direction. If we give in to fear and worry and we go around in a negative frame of mind, then our life is going to go in a negative direction. Fear activates the enemy's power, but faith activates God's power. And when we get up in the morning, we should expect good things. We should expect this to be a productive day. We should expect to be at the right place at the right time. We should expect our families to prosper and succeed. But some of you are not expecting enough. You just expect to barely get by. You expect to get the short end of the stick. You're not expecting to excel in your family, in your careers. But you're going to have to raise your level of expectancy. If you're in sales and you go to a big presentation this week, don't go in there afraid. Don't go in there with no confidence, not expecting to get it. No, get out of fear and get over into faith. Expect to have God's favor. Expect those people to like you. Expect to get that new contract. See, we can choose to live each day in faith, expecting good things, or we can choose to live in fear and just go around expecting the worst. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people do today. They go to a job interview not really expecting to get it. They drop their child off at school expecting him to get in trouble. Well, Joel, he just can't sit still. I'm sure I'll get a call in a couple of hours. No, you've already lost the battle. Quit expecting the worst and start expecting the best. You're going to get exactly what you're expecting. And that's what Jesus said here in Matthew 9:29. According to your faith, be it done unto you. One translation says, have what your faith expects. We have to understand God meets us at the level of our expectations. I don't think we realize how often we fall into that old rut of just expecting the worst. I remember when our son Jonathan was just a baby, maybe a year old. We were in a restaurant eating one night, and I was holding him on my shoulder, and this couple came up. We didn't know, and they started to talk, and actually they were complimenting us on how good he was being, how quiet he was. But just before the man left, he said, you just wait until he gets to be about 2. He'll turn into another person. He's good now, but it's not going to last long. Those terrible 2s are coming. And man, that just didn't hit me right. And when they left, I told Victoria, I do not receive what he said. I am not expecting Jonathan to go through the terrible 2s. I'm not going to give that junk any place in my mind. And we just sort of turned it around. We said for us, we're going to believe it's not going to be the terrible twos, but it's going to be the terrific twos. And do you know, Jonathan, he was 2 years old, didn't give us any problem, 3, 4, 5. He's 10 years old, and we're not expecting him to give us problems. We're expecting him to excel. We're expecting him to make good choices. We're expecting him to do great things in life. Your children as well are going to rise to the level of your own expectations. If you expect them to get in trouble and you expect them to give you a hard time, you're going to get exactly what you're expecting. You're sowing a seed for it by that wrong, negative thinking. Now, you need to expect your children to be the head and not the tail. You need to expect them to be leaders wherever they go. You need to expect them to choose good friends. According to your faith, it's going to be done unto you. I don't know about you, but I'm putting my faith out there for my children. I'm already believing they're going to marry the exact right person, the one God ordained before the foundation of the world. I'm believing my children are going to work with us in the ministry and help us to carry out what my parents started. I'm believing each of my children are going to live long, healthy lives, prosperous lives. Let's expect good things. Our children need to know that we believe in them. They've already got enough negative things trying to pull them down. Let's do our part and encourage them. Let's build them up. Let's speak words of faith and victory over their lives. And I know as we do that, we will see them rise to those new levels. And some of you today, you've gotten so focused on the negative and all your child's doing wrong, you've just about convinced yourself that they're not going to amount to much. They're just going to flounder through life. No, you've got to change your attitude. God is going to hold you responsible. They may not be perfect, but you need to start sowing some new seeds of hope and encouragement into their lives. Your children need to know that you think they're the greatest, that you think there's nothing they can't do. And it may not look like it today, but you've got to do it by faith. You've got to call the things that are not as if they already were. Well, what are you expecting out of your children? Let me challenge you, set the bar high. They'll do great things if you'll just believe in them and really get behind them. I know sometimes when you have small children like we do, people will say, well, just wait until they get to be teenagers. Just wait until they're able to drive. And if you're not careful, you'll almost start expecting them to get off course. Start expecting them to kind of be rebellious. Had a lady ask me just last week, she said, Joel, you got to pray for my teenager. I'm so worried about him. I'm so afraid he's going to get off into trouble and start running with the wrong crowd. I said, well, I'll certainly pray, but is he giving you problems now? I mean, it's like something was terribly wrong. She said, oh no, he's a great kid. I'm just afraid something bad is going to happen. And I told her what I'm telling you, quit giving in to that fear. Quit expecting the worst. That opens the door to trouble. Fear works just like faith. When you go around in faith expecting good things, you're going to see God's blessings and favor. But if you get over into fear and go around expecting the worst, you're going to see negative things begin to happen. I remember when I was in college one night, I was studying for a test with a friend of mine, and we were going over this one particular area. I'll never forget what he said. He said, Joel, I know if they ask me this on the test, I'm not going to get it right. I've never been able to get this down, and I know I just will not remember how to do it. See, he was already planning to miss it. He was already expecting to fail, expecting the worst. Really, the right attitude should have been, if they ask me this, I know I'm going to get it right. I've studied, I've prepared, and I believe God will bring it back to my memory. You've got to learn to just turn it around. Train yourself to expect good things. Learn to stay in faith, not in fear. The Scripture tells us in 2 Timothy 1:7 that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. The Amplified Version tells us what a sound mind is. It says it's a well-balanced and disciplined mind. In other words, we're not going to have any power if we don't first know how to discipline our mind. We're not going to live in victory if we don't know how to control our thought life. And every day, we're going to have all kinds of negative, discouraging thoughts bombarding our minds. And we cannot stop those thoughts from coming, but we can choose whether or not we're going to dwell on them. I heard somebody say, you can't keep the birds from flying over your head, but you can keep them from building a nest in your hair. And in the same way, just because that old thought comes that, hey, you're going to get cancer just like your mother, Or that company's going to lay you off. You know it's coming. Or your marriage, that's never going to work. No, you don't have to dwell on that junk. Get it out of your mind. Stay in faith. Stay hopeful. Expect good things. See, the only doorway the enemy has into your life is through your thinking. The battle is taking place right here. And if you can just stand guard over that doorway and learn to think good thoughts and expect good things, then you can live a victorious life. And I know we have a lot of families here and families that watch that have other family members in the military. There are all these soldiers overseas, and many of them are in very dangerous places, and we pray every day for their safe return. We pray for the families back at home as well. But if that's you, you need to especially be on guard. So easy to go around in fear. Man, I'm afraid something's going to happen to my son, my daughter. I'm afraid they're not going to come home. I'm afraid they're going to be injured. No, don't fall into that trap. Get out of fear and get over into faith. When you're tempted to worry and you're tempted to get all negative, no, learn to just switch it around. Say, Father, thank you that your angels have charge over my son, my daughter. I know you've got him in the palm of your hand. So I refuse to worry. I refuse to give into fear. I know you're in control. See, don't fear the worst. Believe the best. Expect to see him. Expect the angels to protect him. Expect him to come home healthy and whole. That's what activates God's power. You got to stand guard over the doorway of your mind. And nobody can do this for you. You got to learn how to cast down those negative, discouraging thoughts. It says in 2 Corinthians 10 verse 4 that we need to get rid of every evil imagination. And do you know, if you dwell on a negative thought long enough, you'll start seeing all kinds of negative scenarios in your mind. Just like a movie screen, your mind will play out every worst possible situation. You'll see that family member not coming home. You'll see your marriage falling apart. You'll see your financial situation going downhill. No, don't dwell on that junk, and especially don't go around talking about it. We give life to what we believe by what we say. If you go around saying, I am strong in the Lord, and I know God has protected my children, and my marriage is getting better and better, when you do that, you're giving life to your faith. But if you go around saying, man, I'm so worried about my child, and I saw on the news last week all these people getting hurt, and I just don't know. No, don't give life to your fears by speaking it out. Something happens when we verbalize a thought. It takes on a new meaning. And those roots go down deeper and deeper. And if you keep talking about it and keep thinking about it, you're going to give that more and more life. That's why it's so important that you guard your mind and take control of your thought life. For instance, you can be going through the day all happy and fine, and all of a sudden you got a pain in your side. It's no big deal. You just had too much for lunch. But the first thought that comes to your mind, the enemy will tell you, hey, that's cancer. Your mom had it, your grandmother had it, now it's your turn. And if you dwell on that lie long enough, you know this is true, you'll begin to see yourself in the hospital. You'll see yourself not raising your children. In your mind, you can see yourself at the funeral. No, don't even let your mind go there. The Bible tells us to meditate on God's Word. It says to think on things that are hopeful, things that are of a good report, things that are going to build you up and not tear you down. If you feel that pain, I'm not saying to deny it, but you need to dwell on the fact that no weapon formed against me is going to prosper. With long life, I know God's going to satisfy me. Or maybe you're here today and you've gone through a lot of disappointments and you're just about convinced that nothing good is ever going to happen to you. No, don't dwell on that. You need to say, Father, you said if I would obey you, your blessings would chase me down and overtake me. So I thank you that you do have good things in store. I'm going to say with the psalmist David that goodness and mercy are going to follow me all the days of my life. See, learn to just turn it around. Stay in faith, not in fear. And some of you, this is the whole thing that's keeping you down. You're always expecting the worst, expecting failure, expecting defeat, expecting your children to get off course. The problem is when you do that, you've got the wrong things chasing you down. If you'll start expecting God's blessings and favor, expecting your children to excel, expecting to live a long, healthy life, when you do that, you can't outrun the good things of God. His blessings should be chasing us, not all this other junk. And this is just what happened to Job. You remember all the trouble he went through? Well, Job said, the thing I greatly feared came upon me. Same principle I'm talking about. When we live in fear, when we go around all negative and discouraged, that allows that to come to pass. And really, we're using our faith, we're just using it in reverse. How many people have told me, Joel, I'm afraid my business is going to dry up. I'm afraid I'll never get married. I'm afraid I'm going to get that same sickness my mom had. After all, it's been in our family line for 3 generations. No, you need to recognize what you're doing. You're opening up the door to trouble. You're activating the wrong power. And it doesn't really matter how long that sickness has been in your family line. You need to put your foot down and say, this is a new day. You know, we may have suffered from this in the past, but that curse has been broken. Sometimes you got to have that attitude. You know, grandmother may have died from cancer and great-grandmother may have had it. Mother may have suffered with it. But as for me and my house, we're going to live healthy lives. I'm drawing that line in the sand. I'm believing the tide of the battle is turning. You got to put your foot down. I know in my family, on my father's side, we come from a long line of heart disease. My grandfather died early from heart disease, and many of Daddy's brothers and other relatives died early deaths as well. And I could easily go around thinking, well, you know, everybody in my family has heart disease. Everybody has high blood pressure. I guess it's just a matter of time until I get it. But no, I've made up my mind I'm going to live a healthy life. I've made up my mind I'm going to pass down good things. I'm going to pass down victory. I'm going to pass down long life. I'm believing the heart disease is going to stop with my generation. A lot of times, you know, you hear people say, well, I'm afraid to get old. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my vision just like my father did. I'm afraid I'm going to get all bent over like my mother was. Now, why don't you quit fearing the worst? I'm believing every day I'm getting stronger. I believe every day my vision is getting better. Every day my immune system is increasing. I'm believing the older I get, the better looking I'm going to get. You laugh, but you better believe it for yourself. You know, God said He would renew our youth like the eagles. We got to get rid of these thoughts of fear. You hear people say, well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my biggest client. I saw him talking with my competitor, Joel. I'm afraid I'm not going to have any new friends at this company. No, get out of the negative. You're going to get just what you're believing for. And if you'll act in faith, you can receive God's blessings. But when you act in fear, you're going to have all kinds of defeat and misery. The things we fear can come upon us. I read an amazing story about the power of our thoughts. This man was named Nick, and he was a big, tough, strong man, and he'd worked in the railroad yards for many years. He was one of the company's best employees, always on time, very reliable, got along great with the other men. But Nick had one major problem. He was very negative. He was known around the railroad yards as the chronic pessimist, always fearing the worst, always worrying about something. Well, one day, the crews were told that they could leave an hour early to go celebrate the birthday of one of the foremans. And so all these other men left, but somehow Nick got accidentally locked in one of the refrigerated boxcars. And it was empty and not connected to any other cars. They just brought it into the yard for repairs. And when Nick, being the chronic pessimist and always fearing the worst, when he really realized he was trapped inside there, I mean, he just totally panicked. Now, there was plenty of air there, but he beat on those doors so hard that his hands and fists were all bloodied. He screamed to the top of his lungs hour after hour, but it was just too loud. Nobody could hear him. Finally, his voice gave out. And Nick was very aware that he was in a refrigeration car. And he guessed that the temperature was well below freezing, maybe even 5 or 10 degrees. And he began to fear the worst. He thought, what's going to happen if nobody comes? I can't stay in here all night. I'll freeze to death. What am I going to do? The more he thought about it, the colder he got. He finally found a piece of cardboard over in the corner, and shivering almost uncontrollably, he scribbled a note. It said, "So cold, body numb. If I go to sleep, these words may be my last." Sure enough, the next morning when the crews came in, they opened up the big steel doors, and Nick's body was curled up over in the corner. When they did the autopsy, they could find no other cause for death. They had to assume that he did freeze to death. The interesting part about this story is that the refrigeration unit in the car Nick was in that night was not even on. The temperature where he froze to death was 61 degrees. Nick froze to death, I believe, because he was convinced in his own thinking he was in a freezing car. He was convinced in his own thinking he didn't have a chance.
He expected to freeze. He expected the worst. In other words, he lost the battle right here. The thing he feared came upon him. And it's really the same with us today. Our thoughts are so powerful. What we expect is very powerful. I know a lot of people that are just like Nick. They go around expecting the worst, expecting defeat. But no, you got to change what you're expecting. If you're in tough times today, don't expect to stay there. Expect God to bring you out. If business is slow, don't expect it to go bankrupt. Expect God to bring you new customers. You're struggling in your marriage, don't just give up. Say, well, I knew this was going to be this way. I knew we wouldn't last. No, when you do that, you're doing just like Nick. Your own thoughts are going to be what's going to keep you down. You got to quit expecting to be overcome and start expecting to be the overcomer. If you dwell on those thoughts of fear long enough, just like Nick, they're going to create a stronghold in your thinking. A while back, I ran into this young couple after the service, and they were so discouraged. They'd been trying for a long time to have a baby, their first one. But for some reason, this young lady just could not conceive. And they'd been to different doctors, and they didn't see anything wrong with her. They couldn't understand why she couldn't get pregnant. And as she was telling me this story, she seemed to get more.
Okay, we'll finish Joel another day, but I had to let you hear about Nick, the guy who honestly froze to death, died because he thought he wasn't going to make it. Now, I'm thinking recovery. This is the year of recovery, and we're going to talk to Paul Kiker in just a second, but we're going to go to Bill Siniard. We asked him to sing a song. I hope it is a positive message, because today we want to give you a positive message. We want you to look at the world today and know that we all have the ability to recover. So we're going to talk about that when we come back with Paul in just a second. Let's go to Bill Siniard.
Well, you know, get out the church hymnal, because any song in the church hymnal is a positive message. Turn to page 139. I'm going to sing you a song that was copyrighted in 1895. Cherie remembers this one. Years I spent in vanity and pride, caring not my Lord was crucified, knowing not it was for me he died on Calvary. Mercy there was great and grace was free, pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burdened soul found liberty at Calvary. Oh, the love that drew salvation's plan. Oh, the grace that brought it down to man. Oh, the mighty gulf that God did span at Calvary. Mercy there was great and grace was free, pardon there was multiplied to me. There my burdened soul found liberty at Calvary.
Good job, Bill Siniard, and that's a very positive message, because Calvary was one of those things. It was free. Okay, we've got two birthdays we want to get to. James Hulsey, happy birthday on the 5th, and Ashley Hulsey, happy birthday on the 6th. Now, I've declared this the year of recovery. Don't care what the president says, what Congress says, and y'all got to laugh about this. Congress is meeting today to read the Constitution like they're going to pay attention to any of it. They're going to forget it in a week, but we're not going to talk politics. We're going to talk about recovery. Paul, we are in recovery mode. People have looked at what it takes to stop the craziness and to recover.
Yes, we have. You know, since September, when we showed that chart of looked like a bunch of mountains, we have seen a lot of economic recovery. There's a lot of things that are going for the economy right now and this year. So 2011 can be a very good year for the economy and hopefully the markets as well, and everybody's pocketbooks.
Market yesterday was 11,000 some odd?
Around 11,600, 700. So we've got a lot of momentum in the markets right now.
There are predictions it will go higher than it has ever been in the next 12 months.
Like gas prices?
yeah, that too, that too. Now, recovery, the market does, people pay attention to that.
Yes.
People have come in your office and gotten mad at you about some things that you had nothing, you couldn't do anything about it.
Oh yeah, I mean
you couldn't do anything about it.
We were talking earlier about GM stock when they went public. You know, the prior stock was
nothing.
Zero. You know, they did away with it and started the new one. We were talking about a client that was upset about that, and that's just unfortunately the way it has been.
Yeah.
Surprising to me that the government would back an offering of that in that process, but
Right.
that's the world we live in today.
That's the world we live in today. And I think that's the thing we all have. Did last year make us look at where we're headed and look at what we're living in and look at we're going to recover. We have two ideas we can do: failure or recovery.
Right.
So your choice would be recovery. Recovery. You downsized where you downsized, and now you are doing much, much better. You know, your bills are tiny compared to what they were. Tinier. Tinier. T90. That was my granny's word. T90. He's got T90 bills now. Let's talk about a step at a time.
Yes.
Just a tiny step at a time. Now, you did something that you got a little heat for. You went across town and bought another building.
Yes.
And people said, oh, you must be raking in all this money and da-da-da-da-da. Risky business, but you bought a bargain.
Oh, it was a phenomenal opportunity, and from my workflow and from a business standpoint, it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
Right.
And you know,
And this year,
Yes.
we talked about foreclosures.
Yes.
If you're in a position,
Yes.
this year you can also buy a bargain.
Yes, you know, that's one of the things that I was talking to clients about. I mean, there's a lot of things to worry about, and especially in our area, we're probably experiencing about the worst part of the cycle. The rest of the country is ahead of us.
Why is that?
Well, you know, how do I phrase this? The leadership that we've had in our area for the past 15 years doesn't think manufacturing is important. And manufacturing has been driven to other areas, and the rest of the world has a lot of manufacturing base that we do
need
not
that
have.
so badly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, and the problem that we run into from a demographics area here locally is if all we're targeting is retirees and second home market, and we don't focus on the manufacturing.
Jobs.
I know manufacturing's tough on an infrastructure standpoint from a tax revenue, but you have to have it because, you know, if we end up with second homes and retirees, then we're not going to have the younger base to care for them when they need it the most.
Right.
So, you know, one reason that we're in an extremely tough situation here in our area is we just don't have the manufacturing base that the rest of the country does. Now, the rest of the country has shipped a dramatic number of jobs overseas, so manufacturing is not the percentage of employment as it used to be, but we still have much less than most parts of the country, and that's one of the reasons why we're hurting so bad.
Well, we were talking about a manufacturer out, T-shirts. Is that kind of the thing they do?
Yes.
Okay, and we have been shipping some T-shirts, ball ground, to many places all over the United States, which is positive to me. We also picked up a load of sewing machines in Lawrenceville, Georgia. There is some manufacturing going on, but I think that's a key this year. We need to look at what do we do to bring the jobs back, because if you get your paycheck and you get your paycheck and I get my paycheck and we go to the grocery store, to the dry cleaners, maybe even to a restaurant. God, imagine that, getting to go out to eat.
Yes.
You know, to a gas station, here we go again. Then we are generating what it takes to recover.
Yes.
That's recovery.
Yes, it is recovery. And you know, one of the things that I like to talk to clients about is when you look at the actions of the Federal Reserve, our government.
We don't want to look at the government.
You look at, well, you have to look at it from an investment standpoint. You have to take it into consideration. But you look at currency issues and the possibility of a one world currency. At some point in our lifetime, we're going to see that. I think within the next 10 years, there'll be some type of replacement as our dollar is the reserve currency. You really have to embrace volatility. And you have to look at it and say, what is it that the Federal Reserve is serious about? And that's inflation. And, you know, when I talk to individuals about recovery, you have to take risks at some point. Now, they're calculated risks if you're in the growth phase. If you get into retirement, you don't necessarily want to take as many risks, but you still have to have your portfolio and your investments in a position that they will keep up with your cost of living. Now, one thing that I can tell you is, have your taxes gone up or down in the past year? Okay, we all know the answer to that. What about your insurance costs? Has your insurance costs gone up?
Oh my God, no, listen, I have you said that, and I get this letter from the insurance company. It says, this insurance that I bought 20 some odd years ago, the cost of insurance is more today.
Yes.
So they want me to pay more monthly.
Yes.
Okay, why?
It's inflation.
Because they can.
Right.
Yeah, because they can.
It's inflation. And I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of the food prices, you know, the food quantities have reduced.
Oh, yeah.
And what inflation is paying more
For less.
for less.
Yeah.
And, you know, so one thing that I encourage people is you have to consider bracing volatility. And you know, if we look at retirement or investing, kind of like a trip to the beach, when we go to the beach, have you ever encountered traffic? You ever had to stop at a stop sign? You know, if you get severe traffic, these GPS systems will
Go
alter
crazy.
your route.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in investing, we let emotions get control of the best of us at times, and we park our car because we've gotten in traffic. We don't actually understand what's going on. We get out and start walking to the beach. Now, other individuals take an approach of just deciding to walk to the beach. You know, it'll take a couple months to walk to the beach instead of 8 or 9 hours, or 12 hours if you get in traffic. But the problem is inflation's driving a car, and the cost of living's driving a car. So if you're walking and the cost of living's going at 40 or 50 miles an hour, at some point, you're going to fall way behind. And that's what we're going to see over the next 5, 6, and 7 years. So you really need to, you know, get into recovery mode, come out of your bunkers, and ask God for wisdom. You know, the Bible's very clear. It says that it'll grant you wisdom if you ask, and God will grant you wisdom if you ask, and there's no strings attached.
Yeah.
So, you know, bring prayer, bring Christ into your financial decisions, and ask Him where you need to start recovering first, and what your priorities should be, and start there. You know, for one individual, it may be an emergency fund. You know, forget about investing. I need 6 months of my living expenses in an emergency fund, and maybe it becomes an opportunity fund. But that's your foundation. For another person, it may be that, you know, I took a licking in the market in 2008. I didn't have, you know, my advisor didn't have a plan to manage risk. So I took everything to CDs, and I've got 100% of my money there, and I'm making
And
a
a
half a
CD's
percent.
making
a half a
nothing.
percent now. I don't know what they're paying. I know it's terrible. So, you know, seek out some advice. Talk to a couple of people. Find somebody who has a strategy to both manage risk and can help you invest your money in a prudent manner going forward. For most people, especially if you have a diversified portfolio, you're going to have volatility, and that scares people. You're just going to have to learn to embrace it.
And not focus on the panic.
Yes.
Because if you look at things every single day, you could get yourself in a very stressful situation.
Well, you know, here's a good example. Let's say you looked at your investment statement in January of 2000 and what was last year? 10. January of 2010. And then you opened it today, okay? If you had a risk-managed portfolio, you probably did somewhere between 4 and 7%. If you were super aggressive, you probably did somewhere between 8 and 10%. That's a good experience. You looked at it once in the past year and you had a good experience. Well, 57% of the days last year the stock market was up, and 43% of the days the stock market was down. If you looked at it every single day, the magnitude of the fear of the decline overwhelms the good days. So you are on this complete emotional roller coaster, which is just exhausting. And then every conversation you have is talking with, you know, somebody who talks like they know what they're doing, and more often they don't. And it's just an emotional roller coaster you go on.
8%. Nowhere else could you have made 8%.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
nobody paying 8%.
Right.
So why are people like me afraid of the stock market? And if I had been wise, I would have invested in the stock market, and I would have made a whole buku of money. But I was scared. Get people away from that fear level.
Well, you know, it basically boils down to a couple of things. You know, it's finding somebody that you trust and you feel comfortable in working with. And then also understanding that you can't control everything. So there has to be some faith in a process of which risk is managed. And the reason that most people don't, especially in our area, don't feel comfortable in stocks and international commodities is because they just don't understand it like they do real estate. They've thought, you know, bank stocks have been the best performing asset for the past 20 years. That's where anybody that you know around here who's made dramatic amounts of money has been in real estate or stocks. So
Right.
they've never ventured anywhere else. Well, everything goes through cycles, and we're in a cycle right now for the next 10 years where stocks and commodities and international investments are more than likely going to be the leading asset class. And so, you know, there's some great individuals in this area. I'd like to think that people would think I'm one. Come interview me, sit down, and we'll talk about our strategy. You've got Calvin Rowland in LJ. He is a great man. You know, you can trust us. And of course, you don't trust somebody who can tell you that you can trust them. So,
Right,
but you have to sit down and just interview, and don't make a decision until you feel comfortable. The problem is you know, I like for people to take their time. Don't make decisions out of desperation. Make them because they're logical, because you understand them. And if you talk to somebody about investing who doesn't explain the risks of the decision, move on to somewhere else. If it sounds too good to be true, then more than likely it is.
If I had taken a prime example, I have a piece of real estate that is underappraised now based on what I paid for it 4 years ago. If I had taken $200,000 and given it to you, my return on it would have been about what?
How long ago?
4 years.
4 years ago. In a tactical strategy, you would be above what you had to, 4 years ago. I can't remember exactly what the portfolio returns would have been since 2006, but probably about 10% higher than what it is. Because in 2008, really 2007.
And I'm into it about 60,000 down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I don't think anybody, I've been in real estate 18 years. I've sold a ton of real estate. I've sold some $2 million properties. I've sold some $60,000 properties. Nobody expected the real estate to take the hit we've taken. And it was from you, who was in a house that appraised for much more than it was worth, we thought, and it reappraised at much less than you had in it, and it was one of those things, nobody saw it coming. Now, you said put away 6 months worth of whatever you need. And my goal this year, I've shown you the list of everything I've eliminated. I eliminated all these payments, and I'm done with that. I turned off some of this, turned off some of that, restructured this, restructured that. 6 months. In reality, did we ever see a time that we thought we needed 6 months put away? Were we prepared?
Most people didn't, and here's the problem that I had, from 2000 until 2007. You would talk to somebody, and they would come into the office, and they would go, "I'm tired of this emergency fund over here. I want to invest it." And I'm like, "No, you don't want to do that." Well, what people would do is you're telling them that's your emergency fund. Don't get rid of it. Well, they'll just fire you and go find somebody who'll tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Most people didn't feel like that, but again, we can't make decisions based on what feels good at times. I mean, it feels good to eat chocolate cake 5 times a day, but it's not good for you.
Right.
So we have to make disciplined decisions, and that's where having a financial plan comes into play. It's where you have goals that you establish, and if it was, I've been to Destin enough to where I know how to get there, but if I was going to go to Helena, Montana, for example, I'd like to have a map, because there's not much that's going to tell me how to get to Helena until I get close to Montana. Most people just kind of start their journey and they don't have a plan, and they're going to drive around the world to get to their destination.
Have you ever had a client leave your office with, they've made up their mind they're going to do not what you advised them to do, and you want to just drag them by the pants legs and say, "Don't do it"?
Yes. Well,
don't do it.
There's a lot
I wish I'd listened to somebody. Boy, do I wish I'd listened to somebody.
There's a lot of times, and the hard part about what I do is I advise people, and I tell them, "You're paying me for my advice, and I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to tell you, you don't need to do that. And I'm going to be a big boy, and I'm going to take it if it works out for you, because I hope it does." And you can rub it in my face all day long, but you don't need to do that. And, so you've got to find balance between telling people, "No, I wouldn't do this if I was you," and be confident enough in myself, in my strategy to be a big boy, because, sometimes people take chances that they survive. They run red lights and they don't have a car accident. And there are some people who run a red light, and the moment they run a red light, either a cop or another car is coming and they're in trouble.
Right.
But there are prudent decisions that need to be made. And as I tell people, I am here to make sure that you don't outlive your money, and that you don't waste it away in foolish decisions. And so a lot of times what I'll do is I'll temper them down where they don't lose as much, or sometimes don't make as much if it works out. But more often than not, you've got a 70-80% probability of confidence when you tell somebody they're making a bad decision.
Right now, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to go. We've got to remind you about Trading Time. Comes on right after us. Let's go to our friend Rich Scott. Okay, this is the year of recovery. This is the year of recovery. If you have a plan that you're not sure about, but you are determined, I'm very determined to recover.
Yes.
I'm going to recover, and I'm going to react. And that's something I kind of sat back and said, "Oh, this can't be happening to me." Well, you have to react. And you can't let it be too late. Now, you said call Calvin here in LJ, call you and Jasper. If you have questions, that he's available to do that.
Yes.
I have questions, and I made the wrong decisions. I put everything I had, everything I could into real estate. Big mistake.
And see, I would have told you if we'd have talked that you need to diversify, and you'd have thought I was crazy.
No,
or a lot of people.
I
You'd have listened, but most people would say, "Well, you can't get me the returns there that I can in real estate." And you've got to remember, the reason for diversification is this asset class will lead for a while, and then this one stumbles, and this asset class takes off. So it's kind of like the mile relay. You've got 4 players in there, and each has different strengths. And one may be faster than the other, but but they can't run the mile at the same speed as they can all four individually. And that's the importance of diversification.
Right. Well, I hope that this year is the year. I hope by the time we go off the air next Christmas for our little break, that we will have some great success stories. You know, I mean, I know a lady, and this is weird, but she bought stock in Viagra years ago. She made $80,000 just like that. And I told her, I said, if I'd have bought stock in that, it would have hit the tank, gone down, been not worthless, absolutely worthless. So many people took risk and made money. I've always been afraid of risk. And now I'm looking at many, many mistakes I made. Wish I'd gotten an advisor.
Yeah.
Wish I'd gotten an
You know,
advisor.
seek advice, and that's one of the things, you know, I hire a payroll company to do my payroll, and I hire an accountant to do my accountant. Well, I'd like to think I'm smart enough to do it, but it allows me to have the time to focus on the things that I do best.
Right.
So, you know, seek advice and find somebody, interview people. You don't have to make a quick decision. If you have a good, you know, if you talk to somebody and you have a good working relationship with them and you can trust them, ask them hard questions. And because it's about working together. You know, you don't need to find a guru or a crystal ball.
Right.
Nobody has that. You can look at Warren Buffett in 1998 to 1999, and I remember this, but most people don't until I bring it up. They talked about he was an old fogey and he doesn't know what he's doing anymore because
he's the biggest, smartest man in the world.
And here's the reason why. He refused to buy technology stocks because he didn't understand them. Well, everybody who was anybody made money in technology stocks in 2000. Right. We know what Warren Buffett's been doing over the past couple of years. 10 years later, after the bust, when the prices are 90% below what they were, he's buying the companies that survive.
Yeah.
So, you know, you need to find somebody who can take a look at the long haul instead of trying to make you happy today.
Right.
And a lot of people will sell you products based on your emotions. Buy this annuity, it has a guaranteed lifetime income stream. It's important and it's essential for some people, but it's a tool in the toolbox. It's not the same, you know, a tool for every situation.
Right.
And that's where a custom design and a working relationship comes into play. And that's what we specialize in.
And if y'all ever see me walking down the street and I'm kicking my own rear end, it's because I didn't seek a financial advisor. I didn't do that. And I trusted my own judgment. I bought the wrong stocks. I lost money on them. I did the wrong things. And I said, that's one of the things I learn from you every month. Every single time I sit down and look at you, then I leave here and I'm kicking myself as I'm going out the door. But this is the year of recovery.
Yes.
So no matter what you've done, what failure you have faced, this is our year of recovery. We are declaring it the year of recovery.
So are you going to go see him now?
I probably will if I ever get a dollar. If I ever get a dollar that is mine and doesn't belong to somebody else. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. I've learned from my mistakes.
What's important for recovery? Action.
Action.
So it's a year of recovery, but you have to take some action.
You have to take some action.
So take an action to, you know, we'll sit down and talk and help develop a roadmap. We do financial plans for people too.
He says he'll have a cup of coffee with you. Is what
we will.
he says.
Well, you know what we've got to do right now? Something we never do. We never say goodbye. We will say, you better stay tuned to Trading Time. Rich Scott will be on in just a second. And don't forget tonight, Salem number 2, the Primitive Quartet will be there, and hopefully we will be there too, barring problems in the trucking industry. We will see you again only on ETC3, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 10 a.m., 6 to 7:30, and 1 to 2:30. From North Georgia Now Today, I'm Cherie.
And I'm Donald Crump.
Oh, crap.
This is that hair receipt from Bill Siniard. We'll see you again only on ETC3.
With joy, not regret, he died on the cross for all men. Lord, I have not forgotten Jesus, only begotten. I was lost without hope,